Most men do not enter relationships weak. They enter them hopeful. They believe love is something that grows naturally when you give enough, care enough, and stay consistent long enough. They believe relationships fail because people stop trying, stop communicating, or stop being loyal. From a young age, men are taught a very specific story about love. If you show up every day, if you stay faithful, if you remain kind, and if you offer emotional security, you will be chosen, not temporarily, but permanently. This belief feels logical, it feels fair, and it feels safe. It gives men a clear rulebook: do these things, and love will stay. But this belief is also the first relationship trap, and it is the most dangerous one because it slowly breaks men from the inside without them realizing what is happening. Relationships do not usually destroy men through chaos. They do not destroy men through shouting matches or dramatic exits. They destroy men quietly, through comfort, through predictability, through emotional flattening that feels like peace. Most men never see the moment when things begin to shift. They only notice it later, when something feels different, when her voice sounds colder, when affection feels conditional, when respect feels like something that must be earned again. And the most confusing part is this: when men ask what changed, women often cannot explain it clearly, not because they are lying, not because they are manipulative, but because the change did not happen consciously. Men assume attraction fades because of mistakes, because of arguments, because of distance, or because of betrayal. But in reality, many relationships collapse without any major conflict at all. They collapse in comfort. This is the first truth most men are never prepared for. The female mind does not operate on moral contracts. It does not reward effort in the same way men expect. It does not respond to consistency the way logic suggests it should. The female mind responds to emotional perception. This is not an attack. It is an explanation. Men are taught to build. Women are wired to respond. A man believes stability creates attraction. A woman experiences attraction through emotional movement. And when emotional movement disappears, attraction does not end dramatically. It fades quietly, slowly, internally. This is why so many men say, "She changed," but nothing changed on the surface. What changed was the dynamic beneath it. The emotional polarity disappeared. Men are taught that love grows through closeness, through reassurance, through emotional availability. But attraction does not grow in sameness. It grows in contrast, in tension, in emotional charge. When tension disappears completely, love becomes familiarity, and familiarity slowly turns into emotional distance. This is the first relationship trap, confusing emotional comfort with emotional safety. A woman can feel safe with a man and still lose desire. She can trust him and still feel disconnected. She can appreciate everything he does and still stop choosing him emotionally. When this happens, men respond in the only way they know how. They give more, they explain more, they become more available, they try harder to fix something they cannot see. Every one of these actions feels correct to a man because men are problem solvers. They are taught that effort fixes things, but to the female mind, these actions often signal emotional collapse because attraction is not built on effort. It is built on perception. The female mind is constantly reading energy, not words, not intentions, energy. When a man becomes emotionally dependent, when his identity begins to revolve around the relationship, when his presence feels predictable and always available, something inside her begins to disconnect. Not consciously, not maliciously, but biologically. This is the moment most men lose themselves, not because they choose to, but because they were never warned. They stop leading their own emotional direction. They begin reacting instead of grounding. They start negotiating desire instead of embodying it. The relationship shifts. Men experience this shift as confusion. Women experience it as emotional flatness. This is why breakups feel sudden to men, why they say, "I never saw it coming," but the signs were always there. They were simply invisible to someone taught the wrong rules. This video is not about blaming women, and it is not about hating relationships. It is about exposing the traps that quietly dismantle men from the inside. Because once a man sees the trap, he can step out of it. And the first step is understanding why effort alone has never been enough. Because love does not disappear when men stop trying. It disappears when men stop standing at their center. This is where the real damage begins. And this is where clarity must start. If the first trap breaks men through emotional comfort, the second trap breaks them through emotional confusion. This is the trap where men lose clarity about who they are inside a relationship. Most men believe relationships fail because love fades, but love rarely disappears first. Clarity does. Men begin relationships with a strong sense of direction. They know what they want. They know who they are. They move with intention, but slowly, almost invisible, invisibly, that direction begins to bend. Not because women demand it, not because men are weak, but because men are taught that harmony requires self-adjustment. They begin to soften their edges. They explain themselves more. They anticipate reactions. They manage emotions instead of expressing truth. And at first, this feels mature. It feels respectful. It feels emotionally intelligent. But something subtle begins to happen. The man stops leading emotionally. He starts negotiating his presence. He checks how he should feel instead of trusting how he feels. He waits for emotional permission instead of moving from conviction. He adjusts his tone, timing, and reactions to avoid friction. This is the second trap. Men mistake emotional accommodation for emotional connection. The female mind does not bond through emotional obedience. It bonds through emotional direction. When a man no longer knows where he stands, she begins to feel unanchored, not unsafe, not angry, but unclear. And emotional uncertainty slowly drains attraction. Women are deeply responsive to emotional grounding. They feel safer when a man is rooted in himself, even when emotions fluctuate. But when a man becomes emotionally reactive, when his stability depends on her responses, the dynamic shifts. The relationship begins to feel heavy. This is why women often say, "I feel like I'm carrying the relationship." They are not talking about effort. They are talking about emotional gravity. When a man loses his center, someone else must hold the emotional balance, and attraction cannot survive that imbalance. Men often respond to this shift by communicating more. They believe clarity comes from explanation, but explanation is not direction, and reassurance is not leadership. The more a man explains himself, the more he reveals uncertainty, and uncertainty weakens emotional authority. This does not mean silence. It means self-trust. The female mind does not respond to a man who constantly seeks confirmation. It responds to a man who moves with internal certainty. This is where many men become trapped. They confuse emotional openness with emotional dependence. They believe sharing every feeling builds intimacy, but intimacy does not grow through emotional exposure alone. It grows through emotional containment. A man who can feel deeply without collapsing into his emotions creates safety without suffocation. But when emotions spill without structure, they overwhelm the connection. This is why many women feel emotionally flooded in relationships, not because men feel too much, but because men lack emotional boundaries. The second trap is losing emotional structure. Men abandon their inner frame in an attempt to preserve connection. They become flexible where they should be firm. They compromise where they should be clear. They adjust where they should stand. And slowly, the relationship stops feeling alive, not because love is gone, but because polarity has dissolved. Polarity is the tension between two grounded individuals. It is not dominance, it is difference. When difference disappears, attraction fades. This is why women can say, "I love you, but I'm not in love with you." Love remains. Desire does not. Men experience this as betrayal, but it is often the result of years of emotional erosion. This trap is especially dangerous because it feels like growth. Men are praised for being accommodating, for being understanding, for being emotionally available. But availability without direction feels empty. The female mind does not respond to a man who mirrors emotions. It responds to a man who anchors them. Anchoring does not mean controlling. It means remaining steady when emotions rise and fall. Most men are never taught this. They are taught to smooth conflict, to neutralize tension, to prioritize emotional comfort. But attraction is not comfortable. It is alive, and life requires movement. When a man rebuilds his emotional structure, everything changes. He stops reacting. He starts choosing. He listens without absorbing. He responds without explaining. He stays present without losing himself. This is not emotional distance. It is emotional maturity, and maturity is deeply attractive. The second trap is not loving too much. It is forgetting yourself while loving. And when a man loses himself, the relationship loses its center. This is why clarity must come before connection, and why self-direction must come before intimacy. Without it, relationships feel close but empty, stable but lifeless. This is the quiet destruction most men never see coming, and it leads directly into the third and final trap. The third trap is the one that finishes what the first two begin. If the first trap teaches men to mistake comfort for security, and the second trap causes them to lose emotional structure, the third trap removes something even more dangerous. It removes boundaries. This is where men stop standing for themselves, not out of fear, but out of misunderstanding. Most men believe that boundaries create distance. They believe saying no creates conflict. They believe asserting themselves threatens connection. So they stay agreeable. They stay accommodating. They stay emotionally open at all times. And slowly, the relationship loses shape. Boundaries are not walls. They are structure. Without structure, nothing holds weight. When a man stops protecting his emotional space, space. He begins absorbing everything, her moods, her uncertainty, her emotional fluctuations, not out of love, but out of obligation. And obligation kills attraction. The female mind does not respond to a man who absorbs everything. It responds to a man who can hold himself steady without needing to control the situation. This is where many men confuse boundaries with coldness, but boundaries are not withdrawal, they are clarity. A man with boundaries does not argue endlessly. He does not explain himself into exhaustion. He does not negotiate his values to keep peace. He knows where he stands, and he remains there calmly. This creates emotional safety, not tension, because safety is not created by compliance. It is created by consistency of self. When boundaries disappear, resentment replaces respect. Men begin to feel drained, invisible, taken for granted. Women begin to feel less emotionally engaged, not because they want to hurt, but because attraction cannot survive without polarity. This is why some relationships feel exhausting, even when no one is doing anything wrong. The third trap is self-abandonment disguised as love. Men give up their time, their direction, their emotional space, believing this is what commitment requires. But commitment without boundaries is not love. It is erosion. This is the moment relationships stop growing and start consuming. And this is where men either wake up or disappear inside the connection. Breaking free from this trap does not require becoming distant. It requires becoming grounded. A grounded man does not chase. He does not withdraw. He does not perform for approval. He chooses. He gives from fullness, not from fear. He maintains his direction even inside intimacy. This is what restores polarity. Not dominance, not control, but self-respect. When a man respects himself, the relationship recalibrates naturally. Energy shifts. Dynamics change. Attraction stabilizes, not because he demanded it, but because he stopped abandoning himself. This is the truth most men never hear. Relationships do not break men because women are cruel. They break men because men are never taught how to stay whole inside love. Once a man understands this, everything changes. He no longer fears losing connection because he is no longer losing himself. And that is the difference between surviving relationships and being strengthened by them. If you watched this video until the end, it means this message mattered to you. Like the video if it gave you clarity. Share it with someone who needs to hear this truth, and subscribe to the channel. We upload deep psychological relationship videos regularly. Stay aware, stay grounded.